What to do, y'all? Happy Sunday.
Yeah, your head all in the camera.
Sunday Bunday. Sunday Bunday. Cool. Look who's here with me to close out the year of our. How long have we been doing these? This is our 10th one? Our 9th one? Ninth one. 9 in tarot is a number of completion. Because if you think about having a kid, 9 months, and then the baby is here. Hey, Kirby. Oh, yeah, let me send this to folks. You right? What did it do?
And
Did you hear our prompt, Kirby? Which was, what are 20, we were listing 25 things lessons that we learned, and 25 things we're proud of. So if you want to take some time to do that, we'll start at 5 maybe?
Yeah, let me know 5.
Cool.
Cool with that.
Alright. Send. Not to you. Send. Bow. Boom. Boom. If y'all getting these messages from me, thanks for letting me do this. Blow up your phone. Mia actually put me onto something. Clubhouse.
Yeah.
I don't know about it.
I'm in it.
We gonna talk about that. Nia, we gonna talk about that.
I could send you an invite.
Awesome. Yes, I would love this. Okay.
Yeah, it's a. Again, I've been in there for.
Yeah, 25. You could take. Yeah. You don't gotta do all 25. I'm saying you got time right now to reflect on that if you so want to. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello. I'm like low key hype because I go put my hand in the ponytail. Like,
Yeah. We passed the doodle braid phase.
Yo.
Hey, Nia, I was actually just chatting about talking to Rob about Clubhouse, which he's a part of.
Oh.
So it's Liddy.
Yeah. I've been in there for a week. And it's like
Nice.
just it's a cool like space where just different sort of like people. I don't want to say intellectuals. It's like people who really want to have thorough and real like conversations. Like I walked in one, it was like the rapper The Game. It was a room about like treating our black women better and just talking about like it was like like 500 people in this chat like kind of just listening and there's some conversation. I had some good conversations with some people I went to Leslie with, like Eric Wilson, Maurice Hurd, and we were just talking about like where we are in our lives right now, and also just the growth. We talked about a variety of things, but it was just like we did that for probably like 30-45 minutes, and then I like went on my day, and to have that option to be able to step into a space where people are invested in not the superficial, I got invited to a couple of like different like writers' rooms. It's like being a creative and trying to balance your 9 to 5, and like people in chats talking about like the ebbs and flows of that.
Yeah.
So I'm like that's a space I like, just being able to enter and come in when as I please. You can leave when you want. Like
that's amazing.
And then you see the people who are like on it. I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Like the contacts that you have that are like, and then you're like, oh, this makes sense. And just that it's that investment. It's that investment in self. That's my experience with it. I've been in a week, so. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. I feel. Oh, Raheem, I'm going to follow you on Sea House. Yeah, cool. I've been seeing just other ways of connecting recently, social media wise. I saw something called Mastodon recently. I was just checking it out. It's kind of just like you join a community instead of like Instagram is where it's a hub of Instagram owns that, Facebook owns that, and all your interactions are ruled by that, business. And both are Facebook. But then in this one, it's like you join a community and you're kind of part of that community. I think in a way that Reddit is in a way. And then you can like interact with other people in different communities, but you have your hub kind of space.
elevation or usage of social media and trying to just make it more intentional and more sort of authentic. I think there's a lot of sort of desire for authentic spaces where people could be themselves, where people could express themselves, where people could challenge one another and not be like threatened by it. And I think the more of those that just get created, it's like, it's beautiful for the world because you're just like, yo, you ain't gotta front for nobody.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. You don't gotta front for nobody. What time is it?
It is
time bow. Hey, okay. Let's start with the introductions.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I am Gary. GariTalks. My pronouns are they, daddy, D-A-D-D-I, occasionally an E, if I'm feeling froggy. My titles are under review right now as we are, taking stock. But what I called myself today that resonated is truth warrior, educator, social emotional strategist. So I really enjoy holding space for people to reflect on the aspects of themselves that they don't always hold space for, or that they're not even aware of that they're holding. But I just love the things that are, I guess, heavy, like our shadows, things that have negative connotations around them, because I feel like something that Tia said recently that really resonated was we have all these bags that we carry with us, and we don't necessarily know what's going on inside all of them. So I'm here to unpack the bag. What it do, Tia? Yes! Wow! So that's what I do. Yes. I got workshops. GariTalks.eventbrite.com. We're going to look at the schedule afterwards and arrange, and then you can have some testimony, but that's what I do.
Alright, bet. My name is Raheem. Right. I'm an author, a educator, a facilitator, a community builder. I'm just really big on bringing people together and a compassionate leader. And it's like, I don't know, I think about authenticity and being able to bring our true selves to so many different conversations and being able to sort of speak up. I think I look to empower different voices and sort of uplift them to unlock their truth and to pursue their truth, while sort of still learning and constantly being a student of life on my own. So, yeah, that's me.
Yes, awesome. I would love to hear y'all's introductions if you want to type that up,
Yeah.
What are your pronouns?
Oh, my pronouns are he,
him. Cool.
He.
Awesome. So yeah, if y'all could do that little introduction, where y'all coming from, what it do, how you like to be called.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wanting this to kind of be an interactive space-ish. Like if you're doing something where, if you're driving, please focus on the driving. If you're cleaning, whatever you're doing, do your thing. However, if you also have the space and the time to reflect with us, and if you came with reflections, I would love to share. If you want to drop some of them in there, basically we're going to kind of take this time to share the prompt, right? Or our responses to the prompt.
Yeah.
Which was list 25 lessons you learned in 2020, and list 25 things you're proud of. Mm-hmm. And so you want to talk about how we came from, how we created this? Yeah.
How this came into sort of fruition today was we were sort of planning our workshops around vulnerability and sort of going with that. And then, I thank Gary for speaking up first. They were like, let's just exhale, it's okay, it's approaching this time of the year, and I think sort of that refreshment of the new year will sort of give us the opportunity to sort of really take this where we want it to go. Yeah.
Because we were going back and forth for a minute trying to figure it out. We were talking about vulnerability. We were talking about when you, admitting when you know better but don't do better. And I was like, that's low-key a lot. I just came out of the holidays, and it was a nice time with my family, and also a lot of emotions were brought up. Is this really the time where I want to be let's go in again. So, and I also had sent you this picture of James Baldwin laughing with somebody. And like, just like how it is important for us to laugh and like celebrate, and not in a bullshit way, right? Like, oh, life sucks, but I'm alive, ha ha ha. But like, truly, what does that mean to us, right? What are the things that we can be proud of? I think this year was a blitz, just like non-stop. Anything, like, you cannot predict what was going to happen, like what people were going to say, how we were going to react. And I feel like it sped by so quickly too, but also was short. Like when I moved here in August.
Crazy.
What? And we're already here at the end of the year. I never thought I was going to live on my own. And I also moved out of my dad's house into Aaron's space in March. Between March and August, I was living with my cousin. Like, she is a generous soul, you know? Like, so it's like really, I love this. You know, I had done it mentally, and you saw me, I was writing down. So to be honest, I got 13 for y'all here. And we might not, I don't think we'll get through everything.
It's holding space for the multitude of feelings that we have.
Yeah.
Because I think we hold space for the things that are frustrating us and the things that we may want to change. However, it's also important to sort of hold space for the things that have been around us, that we've been fortunate to see, fortunate to have been revealed to us. And maybe not everyone has 25 per se, but at least coming up with a list of 10 to 15, you know? And again, not in that, oh my God, I'm here. So like, there were some things that had been revealed that may have made you smile, or some things you learned about yourself that like you had no idea that you had within you until you were asked to bring it up. So, what's up, Crystal?
What to do?
Yeah, so I think it's important to just hold space for it all, because we deserve that. And yeah.
Can I pin this? No. Boom! I pinned Tia's comment. List 25 things.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you, bro.
And you got something?
I just got a new one. Do you want to start? Or
I can just.
Y'all want to start?
Because I don't think we're gonna go through all of them,
yeah.
But we can go through. You want to start with the proud, or you want to go with the lessons? Because we can do with the lessons. Because the proudness stuff is kind of on an individual basis, and
I don't want to talk about. That's a good question. Because in the spirit of joy, I'm thinking the proud, sharing the proud things. Lessons are like proud, are like joyous, but also some of them are like
soul snatching.
Or maybe we could go back and forth.
I like that. I like that.
Because it's not too much like
like here's a little joy, but here's a lesson number 2.
Yes, I like that.
Alright.
Yes.
Something that I am proud of. Wrote a book. Published a book.
You better stand up.
I published a book. We got Black Boy Fly out. It's it's crazy. I'm like, I was just featured on like this Connecticut TV station the other day, and it felt kind of just surreal that was me. However, I've been just being more confident in myself and just being like, why not me? Because I think at times I sort of jockey between, I used to say, why me? And then now I'm saying more like, why not me? In terms of the things that we are all capable of. So, yeah, that's something that I'm proud of. I be low key though, but finding the balance between being confident in yourself, but also being humble, because you're not above or below anyone. But you gotta remind yourself of your own greatness too. And I tell my students that it's like, for all the inspirational stuff, because I'm big on that, it's interesting when it starts to apply to your life. You're a practitioner of it. So you're telling people one thing, and then you see the sort of opportunities reveal itself. You gotta take it on. Proud of. How to fall apart with someone, not to tie my happiness to my physical health. How to let someone else take care of me. Letting go and forgiving are not the same.
We're gonna come back to that.
You gonna come out with these hitters.
I just went to go get Black Boy Fly. I was looking for the perfect excerpt to read, y'all. I was like, do you want to read this one? Because it's like the bow. Because what I was choosing was this one because I like this.
Which one do I want to read? Okay.
Well, I was going to read it. But
go ahead.
I love this book, y'all. I teared up.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you could choose one too, but
no.
So first, I'll read this back. Black Boy Fly. Rashad's brown skin and smile would shine the brightest during his weekend afternoons at the beach, watching the seagulls hover and spending quality time with his family. After his parents split shortly after his 9th birthday, Rashad wanted to know when they would return to the beach. False promises were turning those trips into distant memories. With everything feeling like it was slipping away, Rashad was given something, a gift that came in the form of a new sport that his mom had heard about, squash. As Rashad is looking for familiar joy in a very unfamiliar environment, he can't help but notice that something very important is missing from it. Will he be able to find what is missing and bring it back with him into this new space? Or will squash become like his family trips to the beach, a distant memory? The chills, y'all. First of all, the first line that I was like, first we gotta pause real quick, is when you were talking about, they missed or just didn't mention that besides the ball, Rashad was the only black person or object in the space. Right? So that's just context for it. So this is the excerpt. Rashad looked around at all the eyes on him and remembered a joke that his friend told him would help in this situation. Who here likes chocolate milk better than regular milk? He yelled out. He in a space with a bunch of white boys who was trying to be like, why you brown? Like, what's going on with you?
It's like them locker room things in which like people are cornered and it's about to go down.
It's about to go down. Who here likes chocolate milk better than regular milk? He yelled out. All the kids looked at one another and raised their hands as they awkwardly laughed at the same time. Looks like I have the skin color that all of you like. So it looks like you asking the wrong question. They all stood in silence. Then one kid said, well, he's got a point. Another said, is that why my parents go to the beach all the time? Because they do come back darker than they were before. Without a single punch thrown, Rashad confidently walked out of the locker room. Okay, and then here's the illustration for y'all. Because look at that. Look at Rashad. He, without a single punch thrown, and look at him. Oh boy, shook.
And I want like that, like shout out to Devontae because I look
Devontae Smith.
Because I think about that, and what's funny about that scene is like I feel like as just black and brown people, like you have those moments even in your adulthood. You might even have that in your work office space when you just like you find a way to keep your composure, but you also low key like stun on them and get them like reflecting. You like, alright, you like, yo, hold that. I'm gonna let you hold that, and I'm gonna leave.
Yep, like a mean ass fart in the air.
Yeah.
You leave.
So Joy, Black Boy Fly, yes. And my mom was so proud to see me on television, and my whole family was just like, and people that I grew up with, they were just like showing love. So. You know, it reminds me that I'm never alone. So, appreciate the support. Yeah.
I also have in my list that I'm proud of Raheem Logan for publishing a book. And my dad got his copy yesterday. He was very excited. All right, so let's look at these here, what people got. So Kirby said, lessons I learned and that I'm proud of. How to fall apart with someone. Not to tie my happiness to my physical health. How to let someone else take care of me. Letting go and forgiving are not the same. That last one?
Letting go
is a word. Because to me, forgiveness, I've read it once as letting go of the hope of a better past. Letting go of the hope of a better past. So accepting that the past has happened, accepting what has happened has happened. But that doesn't also necessarily mean that you've let that thing go. You might be like, oh, it happened, and I'm still mad. You still got me bent out of shape about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's still one of those sore spots, you know? And there's some healing of the wound. It's some it's almost like a decision, like a conversation has to be had with that particular thing of like, yo, you're not gonna like block my growth anymore. I'm not gonna lie to you. That
you said with that thing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Cause it's like whatever form that comes in, it's kind of just like it could be an inanimate object, if you will, and just like talking to it and being like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing that, Kirby.
Yeah. And how to let someone else take care of me? Listen, I don't know what your upbringing is parentally. My mom was a single mom, and it's interesting to watch what care with other people look like with her, but it was not a common, like, I let people take care of me thing. You know, it's like, I can do bad all by myself. So, thank you for sharing that. Tia, I'm proud of the big leap I took this year. I've always wanted to leave home, but I let the fact that others depended on me keep me there. So I remained stagnant and unhappy until one day I was fed up and decided to leave. I've never been happier. Yes!
And Tia, I'm going to tell you this. You never know how protected you are by the universe until you really allow yourself to free flow to like, oh my God, I didn't even know. So shout out to you for just being intentional about making that decision for you and realizing that you're protected by your ancestors. And it's like, oh, to that degree? Hey.
Have y'all watched Into the Spider-Verse? Because if you haven't, they about to take it off Netflix, so please check it out. Have you seen Into the Spider-Verse? Yeah, of course, right. It's offensive. That movie is great. The first person to watch it, my brother, of course, in my life, and showed it to me. But he was like, it's this young Spider-Man journey. I'm not gonna give you all the details, but he's struggling, and then at some point he's like, how do I know when I'm ready, right? And the dude's like, you don't. It's a leap of faith. And it's just crazy to think about how you never know that you're protected or how you will be caught or what will happen until you jump off. And we spend so much time being like, all the reasons to not jump. And everything's telling you not to jump. But there's something that's pulling you to jump.
And then it's like almost forgetting about you. Like, I think people almost forget their track record. I feel like people forget their track record. I'm like, yo, you know what you've done up to even get to this point. You know how much you battled through. You know how sort of resourceful and like you've had to figure things out. This might be in a slightly different form. Might take a slightly different shape. Mm-hmm. But and regardless of how it goes, you're going to learn something. Mm-hmm.
Miles Morales for the win, right? Y'all know his dad, Jefferson Davis, right? That's a Confederate leader's name.
Oh, I did not know that.
Bruh, they be playful. I wanted to send this to my dad. Thanks, y'all. Hey, Darren. That's funny that you say that because the lesson that I had written down that I learned was do it. Every time you thought you couldn't, you have.
Shout out to Shia LaBeouf. Do it! Do it!
I'm dead.
But it's like you be like on the outskirts of the water, and you be like, and that accident is like somebody might push you in, and then you like, oh, like I can swim. Like I can swim.
Yeah.
And something that I think about just with just doing it, it's the adoption of fear. So like how people like at times like people adopt certain fears of things based on other people's fears of it.
Yes. Fear is learned.
So it's like, you're scared of it, so I'm supposed to be scared of it too. And it's like, yo, what if I'm capable of different than you?
Yeah, because I am, because we all are.
You know? It's like, I think that's really just crucial. I think about this swimming in this water, 13-foot lake, and I'm not too good of a swimmer, and I was learning, and I've been so afraid of drowning because of what people tell me drowning, because of what I've seen, and it was like, oh, I'm so afraid to hit the bottom. And I went to the bottom of this 13-foot lake, this pool. My feet hit the ground, and then I looked up. I was like, oh, like, I have the strength to push myself up. This is what I was afraid of. Word? Mm-hmm. And you didn't even know what you was afraid of until you experienced it, and you like, oh, but I can figure this out. Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm good. I'm chilling right now, actually, down here. Trying to think of a time that I thought I couldn't. I mean, literally, I didn't think I was going to make it here. One of the things I'm proud of that also ties to this is I'm proud of me for choosing life. Mm. And that feels real casual to say, but it's not. It feels tearful too.
It's not. It's not, It's, and so many lives have been lost. And to be sort of at the decision of life versus not. It's dead hard. So what's up?
There's a word. Hey, Dara. So yeah, it was. I really did not think. This was the first year where I'm also proud of this with a good friend of mine, Imani, is the first person to really bring this into my life. The 3-year plan, the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan. I've heard of these things before and I've kind of talked about them. But in talking to Imani, and I consider them my partner, the way that we build our lives and workshops and things together. It's really lovely. And I realized in talking to them, I have a lot of blocks coming up when I'm trying to create these longer term plans. And the first time I realized that was shortly after college. I was like, oh, I haven't planned for a lot because I wasn't planning to live this long. A year? No, thank you. And even if I was, I was just going to be at the whims of whatever brought me over here, I suppose. And so this is the first year where I was very conscious, if I'm choosing to live here and be on this planet and be here, move around.
Yeah.
Do the thing then.
Experience it.
Experience it, right? Because and I think it's been different because it's not so much blaming myself for my feelings and being avoidant of them too, but just I don't know, holding space for it's hard to feel suicidal. As human beings, we want to live. So when you feel suicidal, I feel on a human level, I feel broken because I'm there's something in me that wants to end things, but I don't know. It's something that shifted for me was realizing, why do I want to end things? I'm because I don't like how things are right now. I really don't fuck with it. And I can see it being differently, or I can't see it being differently, but it feels like it should be so much different. And I think this is the first year where I've been okay, so how would it be different? Name that. What would it look like if it was different? And what would you need to do to be there? And I think what's cool is I've learned a certain level of questioning, a different kind of questioning for yourself, which is okay, if you're I don't know, well, if you could know, what would you say? And you're oh, whoa, my brain is now stepping over the I don't know block. And it's oh, well, if I could know, if I was this person to achieve what I wanted to do, what would it take, kind of thing. And then as I list out the things that I thought it would take, I'm oh yeah, these are not foreign things. I named them. So you can't recognize things outside of you that you don't have within you too. So just taking a breath. And I think I'm also proud of myself for releasing my grip on negative attachment, ideation. I feel I'm quick to talk about the things I don't like about a thing before the things I like about it. right? Or quick to talk about the lessons I learned, even in how I started, talking about the lessons I learned versus the thing I'm proud of. Or like talking about my flaws versus talking about my attributes. So learning, I'm proud of myself for shifting away from that kind of negative focus. Because self-help can be dangerous sometimes. You become almost hypercritical, trying to always become the best. So I'm glad, I'm proud of myself for learning grace and like allowing myself to like not try to be a good person, be a whole person.
Be a whole person. And then I think about just the uniqueness of our beings as a whole too. Like, you know, a lot of the self-help stuff is great and you take things from it. However, it's remembering that is another person's perspective and their truth. They're encouraging you to go find your truth. So it's like, if you start looking, like, if you dead just trying to photocopy their truth, it may not work. Because you'll be like, this don't work. This don't work. So it's like, how can you sort of toggle that to your being? And you live in your essence and the things that you're interested in. Because I think about, because you talking about like life and death, and I think about like apathy. And I think about how dangerous that is. I'm like, that's like death without death, you know? And you kind of just like exist in here, but you're not living. So I think about how dangerous that is.
Apathy, I feel like it speaks almost sometimes to an overwhelm. I think George Carlin once said, inside every cynic is a disappointed idealist.
Disappointed, because it's like,
George Carlin, R.I.P. to the homie. I'm grateful for this space. I think another list, I wanted to do like 10 things and like have 50 total, but I also like this. Initially we were going to do 50 things, like 50 accomplishments that we're proud of this year. And then I was like, I really don't like the word accomplishment. And then we chose this, but so many things that we can list out. I remember when I discovered the word apathy, I was like, ooh. Dara, tell us about it. Yo, apathy. I wonder if the first time I heard apathy, was it to describe another person? I think it was maybe to describe like society versus, I think about the first time I read it in a psychology sense, I think, and found that it applied to me. And I was like, oh, I'm apathetic right now. Pathetic. Pathos is about feeling? I wish my phone is in use. I might have to satisfy my curiosity, y'all. You get to watch me. Okay, sorry. You got it, right? I'm looking up apathy real quick, y'all.
Yeah, because just apathy, it's like, I just be wanting to just hug them, you know? Hug them and just, you know, pick their brains a little bit. In terms of like, hopefully there's something outside of themselves or within themselves that they're inspired by. You just want that for anybody in the world. In terms of empowering and bringing people together and not dividing. But just like to be in, I think about apathy and I think about limbo. I don't know, sometimes I associate it with that. And I don't know if that's correct or not. Sometimes, and maybe that's just the relationship that I've seen with the word. Tia just said something as well. I've learned it's okay to let people remove you from their lives with no context, and sometimes it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the person. Yes. Not taking it personally.
Tia, we're going to come back to that one because we still on this apathy tip.
I always said I felt empty, and then I discovered emotional wheels and such. So apathy defined them as like, oh, this is what it is.
Or sometimes I also describe the feeling as numb is how I used to describe it for me. But I just don't feel nothing. But apathy, lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern. So I needed language. Yeah. Dara, in light of BoJack, I'm thinking about when he's like, do you ever just talk about your feelings? He's like, I do. I talk about my feelings. And he has his hand over an open flame. Nothing on the inside, nothing on the outside. Apathy, there it is. So I looked it up. Pathos comes from the Greek for the word suffer. Penthos is grief. So A is usually without, right? So without suffering. Which is interesting because I think we all kind of suffer. And I think when we don't feel that way, I don't know. And it's also without feeling, too. We could get real carried away.
It's, yeah. I think about, because when we're young, we have such, hello. There's such a level of curiosity and wonder from when we're young. So then you just think about what has stifled that. That big eye. I see my nephew, and his eyes are so big, and just so curious about the world. He's just trying to understand it all, and I'm like, where does one lose that?
A quote that I read in Beyond the Gender Binary by Alok is, what parts of ourselves do we have to destroy in order to survive? And I think the parts of us that we destroy when we don't reclaim them, it really leads to this apathy. And also this overwhelm. I was talking to George Carlin. I was listening to George Carlin talk, and he was talking about shell shock, which is what initially PTSD, so post-traumatic stress disorder, and the evolution of this soft language. He was saying how we kind of hide our language, because shell shock, you know what's going on with somebody who is shell shocked.
Yeah.
It sounds shook, versus like post-traumatic stress, you're like, now we kind of have the context for it, but it's like a different vibe. Why did I bring that up though? Apathy. Oh, he described shell shock as like when the sensory system is so overloaded that it can no longer process any more information. It has reached capacity. And so you kind of just like, that's it, shocked. And so I think of apathy in that way. Maybe not like, because it's like with war.
Like a power outage, are you saying?
This is for...
No, I'm thinking about apathy, like a power outage, like when everything like goes like so bright and then it turns...
Yeah. And then they can't do no more. It's off. Yeah. Right. And I wonder, that would be something to reflect on, how to like regain connection after apathy.
See, you're in the right place, then Africa.
Yes.
See, alignment.
I love this. Okay, so Tia had said, and you read it earlier, I've learned it's okay to let people remove you from their lives with no context, and sometimes it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the person. Absolutely. Honestly, yeah, that's it.
And it's that battle within the ego to not take it personally. You have that me? They won't do this to me,
right? Like, I could have done it to them, and I never. Well, maybe you should have.
And it's like, why? Like, I needed that, and it's like, it's also like, what about what that other person possibly needed for themselves? What circumstances do you know the extent to which what they were going through, and maybe why they had to make that decision,
right?
But it's processing the feelings that come with the grieving process, depending on how close you were with that person. So you have to have a space for that.
Yeah.
However, however, I can't take it personal as much as this hurts.
Yeah. And it's also interesting to think about, I guess, accountability amidst that, and how I was reading this post that was like, not everything is about somebody's attachment style and their childhood trauma. Like sometimes our issues with people are interpersonal. The reason people leave us is not because they're running from their own stories and projections. Like sometimes we did something to them. And I think for me, this resonates a lot because like, I feel like I've not been the one to remove people without context. I don't know, I'm thinking about harm, and I'm thinking about how someone recently was talking to me about apologies and how do we apologize for things that when somebody has like removed you from their life. And I was like, I don't think I don't know. That's a tricky place. I can't give you just a generalized advice for that because I don't know what conversation or I guess I wonder what communication looks like in that kind of space because it would be on that other person who has cut you out, and then I just think it sometimes I don't know. We like closure. I like closure, and we want to find that closure or like apologize or whatever it is and reflect. Oh, this time has given me this thought, like. But sometimes the closure is really just within yourself. And I think what I'm trying to say that's challenging is like, sometimes that context never happens. And like you never get the piece of it.
And you're left feeling like incomplete.
Yeah. Even if it was you who was harmed, is what I'm trying to say too. Or even if you harm somebody and you can't take accountability for that. And that's kind of like, sometimes that's just how it will be for a long time. If that person passes, like, you know, or if it's just not something that, yeah. That's just a thought that came up for me. Sultan says, one thing I've learned so far this year is that people have their opinion about something and that I shouldn't get mad and try to fight them for thinking a certain way about something.
Very true.
We gotta let people like live their lives. Something that Imani told me recently that has tickled me and I keep thinking about is like raising children, right? How we like to really control children, right? And never really give them the choices, opportunity to have choice. If you tell a kid it's cold outside, wear a jacket, and they're like, I don't want to. Are you going to now throw the kid's arms in that jacket, like shove them in there, and like, you have to put it on? What I would do, and this is an option that I never thought about, but in talking to Imani, I was like, this could have been different my whole life. I, as the adult, would take the jacket, because I know it's cold outside. You don't want to wear a jacket? Okay. Take a step outside.
30 seconds of
Oh!
Where that jacket at?
But I let you learn, right? And I let you, develop naturally versus like. So I don't know. That came up for me.
It's crazy. That's how that's how it was for me growing up. My mom was like that.
But just go outside.
Cause I'll be sort of like I like my hoodies. You know, you wear a fresh hoodie, you trying to wear it up regardless of the temperature. You like. It's 40. I can still wear that hoodie, and I'm like, yo, I'm good. Like sometimes I'm a warm person, so I'm like, I'm good. And my mom would be like, yo, put on a jacket. I'm like, yo, I'm going out. She's like, all right, and you get sick, and I was like, oh man. And then she hit like one call. She's like, oh man. And I'm like, I think for me, I never had a hard time admitting when I was grown up. I think. To have that relationship with my mom, like, yo, like, you's right.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, you's right. I was being hard-headed. I was being kind of stubborn. But I really want to go outside with this hoodie because this hoodie is fire. And, like, depending on where I'm at, I might not even be able to take that off, you know?
Yeah.
You don't get a chance to show up this hoodie. Like,
this is true.
And these are the thoughts on my head. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
I'm gonna go with another lesson.
Yeah. Thanks, Kirby, for being here. That builds trust too. Shows a kid you are truly here to guide them correctly rather than just being an authority, do what I say type. And then they trust you because they're like, right, you're not just trying to like violently coerce me into doing things.
And the foundation is built on respect instead of fear.
You're gonna get sick even. Like, no, like respect your body. If you cold,
alright, we gonna go outside. I'm bringing the jacket. I'm gonna hold it in case you need it.
In case.
Now I'll probably sing about it. Like, just in case when I make it home tonight. I'm like, oh yeah. So I've seen it, I've experienced it. And my mom never was the scolding, you know? Yeah. So you kind of be great, like, I could have told you that. And I just keep it pushing, you know? Because it's like, it's already a vulnerable state to be in when you have to admit that you're wrong. And, you know, you almost, sometimes, I don't know, I think you expect that, I told you so. Like, yeah. Like, and it's like, and to not have that, it was like, all right, cool. Because I already feel this embarrassment, this shame. Like, I don't want to feel even lower about this. Alright, cool.
That's nice. Yeah, that's a really important piece.
Now, let me tell you how much you wrong. I'm gonna tell you right now, like
fire you up.
Be like,
Right, because what is even the intention of that? Okay, lesson or proud?
Proud. I would say I am proud with my growing relationship with tears and crying. Yeah, it's been cool to just like smile, getting worried now, just bringing it up. See, it's like, but it's, you know, something for me. I could feel the emotions, and sometimes the tears don't come out. And I've like used to be like, oh, like is something wrong. But I don't know. Maybe this year, different things is the tears are flowing and just giving space for them, not resisting that feeling, not trying to block it. And just like, yo, this is a feeling right here. And you're going to feel this. You know, you're going to process this feeling because it's necessary. Yeah, so.
That release.
Mm-hmm.
I cried earlier today. I cried last night too. I love crying. I've never had someone make me feel bad for me admitting I'm wrong, but every time pride is like, fuck no. I was actually learning something in my coaching that I'm not even getting to with y'all because I don't want to like specify it, but like it was a 5-finger technique about how to understand stimulus. But this is like an external stimulus, and then the next step is the internal processing that makes it a real thing. Mm-hmm. And so he was like saying sometimes there's no external event, sometimes it's just the internal event that your brain just starts going and you start reacting from that place, so nothing even had to happen. So that's what I thought about with that. When our pride was kind of like, I can't. Even though we have no lived experience of that. In which case, it's like, what stories are we carrying around admitting that we're wrong?
The shadows. I think about the shadow work because it's like, as kids, what image did you sort of create?
What's wrong? Mm-hmm. What did they say wrong was? What was wrong? Because what is wrong with you will be the biggest shake up. Woo!
Like to hear that, I think about just someone talking to someone like defective. Mm-hmm. Like you're defective. Mm. And thinking about like parents use that like to talk to their kids with.
Mm-hmm. Even like you're bad.
Yeah,
like,
you know,
like spoiled eggs.
Like what's wrong with you? Mm-hmm. Like imagine like again as they're trying to understand words, it's like wrong with me. Mm-hmm. You know, I just think about that intentionality with those words. Yeah. And the potential it has to be destructive.
Yeah. In Mandarin, the word for good, like well-behaved, is, first of all, the word for good is guai, like a well-behaved kid is a good kid, is guai, right? And you would also say guai to a dog, like well-behaved, guai. And then if somebody is bad, they are很坏, which is like bad. And also your TV can be 坏掉. Your TV can be broke the same way a kid is bad. And I don't know if it's the same, you know, because tones are different in Mandarin. And I learned it phonetically, so I'm still attaching the visual parts of it. So, but it's just like interesting. Yeah. To think about that. Our ego is our biggest enemy. Yes, Africa. Part 2, I can allow that person to apologize, but I don't have to allow space in my life for them again because they've apologized.
I wonder, so with the ego being the biggest enemy, I would say the biggest enemy. I would say one of our many enemies. Yeah, because I think about like...
What does ego mean to you, Africa?
And, to me? Mm-hmm. Ego to me is the sort of internal voice that's telling me not. Or just like, this won't work out the way that you want it to. Like, almost like, or I would say it's that voice that kind of just halts opportunity for growth. whether or not to do something. I don't know. So I hear the ego talking to me like that. I hear the ego amplify its voice when you feel like you messed up on something, then you have a thought about it, and then the ego kind of like grows in size and almost like gets power from you having that thought of negative about yourself. So I think of it as this like figure that shapeshifts in size, depending on how much you feed into it.
Interesting. I don't know if y'all watched Futurama. Do you remember the episode with this guy who had an ego that was like this fungus and it would grow?
I think so.
It would grow and grow, and he fed off of validation. And he was a celebrity. He came to Earth to feed his ego because we have celebrity culture here. So it's funny when I think of ego, I think of comfort and safety. So the lesson that I have. What did I say? There is a safety and comfort that is alluring, yet incredibly debilitating to your evolution.
Say that one more time so they can hear it.
There is a safety and comfort that is alluring, yet incredibly debilitating to your evolution. And I think the ego is wrapped up right in there. I think the ego is everything that works to keep us safe. I think the ego mind is like, I feel like it's very tied to keeping you safe socially, so protected in that way, and keeping you safe, especially socially, because socially, if you're like, if you're cast aside, like you pretty much you've died socially, you know. So I think it's the things that keep you. I think initially it was like very primitive, like literally kept you alive. But then now it's like because we assess certain things as deadly, and I think it's the thing that has logged. I think our subconscious holds all the information, and I think we have particular stories, learned stories, that I think feed our ego voice or structure our ego's voice. So our parents, I think our inner critic lives in our ego, right? And I think that voice is shaped by a lot of things, and so that's what we were kind of. It's also kind of like the lens that we're taught to look at the world through, and so we will consistently look through that to keep ourselves safe too, and we're perceiving it through the ego. I think a lot of the time, because like when I hear people say like kill the ego or destroy the ego, I'm like, first of all, nobody really likes to be killed unless you're like a crazy masochist, I guess. But like, I feel like it's more so about understand the ego, like hold space to listen to what it has to say. And then also know when to be like, all right, I'm not listening to you. And then also be like, all right, I hear you. I thank you. I'm gonna go over here. Thank you though. For what you're trying to do. So that's kind of what I think about what I think about ego. I love this. If y'all have thoughts about ego, drop that. I would love to hear other people's thoughts about that.
It's so many different interpretations for people of the ego.
So many. And I'm also thinking Freud with like the super ego, the ego in the id, like the mask.
See, I gotta do more tapping into that. I remember that from social class, loosely. I'm like, oh, I know what you're talking about. Oh, psych class, one of them. Social psych.
Yeah. Also, sometimes the lesson won't hit you really until years later, long after you thought you learned it.
Because you might have learned it in that moment, learned it in that context, and then it just
be like, practice. You got it? And you'd be like, oh, I fumbled.
And then you like scrambling your notes. You're like, how do I do this again? How do I do it? I remember I did this. I handled this situation though, and I've handled it with grace. And I might be out of practice. But I must not revert to what I was before I made that transition.
And not let shame bring me back. I'm glad this stuff is recorded. What it do, Tim?
My guy, Tim. He on the West Coast too, so it's like, you know it's love. See, he came on, it's 11:54. I didn't even know it was 11:54. I hadn't looked at my watch the whole time.
Yeah. Dang. Thank y'all for being here.
So, I'm gonna read another one of these lessons.
I think about how on TV shows they'll have the little devil and angel on each shoulder. I forget something about egos.
Yes.
Also, I can allow that person to apologize. Oh yeah, but I don't have to allow space. That's a lesson I'm still learning.
And with that image, Africa, with that image, what I was thinking about, it's like, they're like typically like really small, but I think about just like this feeding of the ego, or like, I think about it possibly increasing in size and potentially being a burden that we carry. Or extra baggage that we're carrying that debilitates our growth.
Right. This is true. If we had a big old thing just sitting here chatting with you, tell it every time you try to do it, they be like, don't do that. No. They gonna say no. Nah. And it's so funny because the little one is quiet. If y'all read Friday Black, Lark Street.
I read that again.
That's the one about a couple who has an abortion. We're gonna read that after. The first one I wrote down was emotional boundaries are crucial for right relationship with self and others.
Repeat that one more time.
Emotional boundaries are crucial for right relationship with self and others.
It's vital.
Vital.
And it's the communication of them. It's the thoroughness of that communication, and it's the willingness to have that. You know? Because it's like when you feel the boundary has been crossed in some way, then it triggers you. Then it becomes a decision. Am I going to communicate that this boundary was crossed? Possibly inadvertently. But to establish that this is what it is. Because we haven't communicated this before. Or am I going to just let it rock because I don't want to disturb the peace? But my peace has been disrupted. So...
Right.
Then you got decisions to make, you know? Because if it continues to repeat, then it becomes a norm. And then we become conditioned to thinking that's the norm, or that's what it's been accepted as. Like, oh, like you've accepted that all these other times, like you didn't say anything about it before, like now we got like 200 like cycles going through, like
Oh, and now the 201st you don't like it?
Should have communicated that the first time. So that you didn't get me fucked up. Like,
yo.
But not in a disrespectful way, but just...
My coach was just talking about how it's like when we blame our triggers for like a reaction, like because you're triggered, that's a trigger, and the feeling happens, and we hold space for that, and we take space to be able to be with ourselves. I just feel like oftentimes when we're triggered, there's also this urge or this impulse to like address it in the moment too, and where sometimes we're not ready to do that. If I'm like raging, I'm mad. Anger is an emotion that's like I'm learning to communicate. So in a way that doesn't make other people feel small, right? That's something that's been a legacy in my family. And so I'm trying not to do that. So when I'm angry, it's not going to be the time like, all right, game time. Let's go practice. Let me figure out how I'm going to talk to you. How am I talking to myself first? You know? And taking the time to like understand what is making me mad here, ground myself. Like I think I've been learning so much like, about the emotional boundaries. It's like also understand like what do I need and to protect myself and to keep myself safe and keep myself feeling, you know, in flow and like open and willing to be vulnerable. Like I have to be able to hold space for myself and be like, this is what's bothering me about what was said, and be like, okay, today is December 27th. I know there's a whole lot of stuff going on. I don't know what this person's intentions are. I don't know what's going on, but like, I'm here feeling these things and then going from there. Versus like, before doing that, trying to do all this other stuff, I'm not grounded. So
there's an awareness that comes with, and then there's an awareness with, and a level of vulnerability to even admit that you may not be ready to do something at that moment. And I think that's a tough, like to be able to regulate and be like, yo, I'm not ready. And I may not be ready for this particular thing, but like again, set the intention of eventually being ready for it. Because again, I think about that response. I'm triggered. Like, if I quickly respond, I may not be able to sort of communicate what I need.
What I want to actually say. Like, yeah. And I think that's what I've been realizing too. I don't always communicate with my intention.
We gotta speak loud.
Huh? Oh, speak.
We gotta speak louder.
Speak louder or speak aloud. The grounding. Tia. I can be the same way. I've learned in some instances I vocalize that I'm pissed and I'm trying to process what's happening and need time to be able to vocalize. Yes, Ra. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's such an emphasis just in our culture of urgency. Now that we have the whole world in our pockets, like, you didn't see my message? Like, but even in person, like, we expect people, like, to always know. Someone's pointed out to me, it's ableist to assume that everybody can process as quickly as you. And I was like, oh. Especially as a person who in my life, I think also understanding the dynamics that have created the reason I process so quickly. I had to process quickly because shit was going down quick. And I had to be hyper vigilant. And I had to process. So that's why it's like, I'm always trying to do that. And so when other people, you know, and I think that's also like, and it creates like an upset too. I'd be mad about having to have done that or that. And so, like, allowing myself to be mad and being like, I need some time to be mad over here before I say it's all good. Because even if we're going to be all good, I'm still allowed to be mad.
And it's like, who demands that you respond as quickly to a text message or to a notification? Who demands that? Is that the pressure you put on yourself? It's like, yo, again, we talked about this a variety of times, but being able to just be like, yo, I need time. I need time. I'm going to get back to you, but I need time. Or just like, I don't know, I think about just, I don't take it personally when someone like doesn't respond to me for a while. And it's, again, I hope that sort of same feeling is shared. However, I don't know.
Right.
You know, somebody takes it personal. Oh, you didn't respond to me. It's like, oh, like, get back to you. Like, it's not a personal thing. It's sometimes like being on my phone, like all day just typing. Yeah. Like,
yes,
it's cool. Like, I need Zoom screen time not on here. I'm gonna get back to you though. So, yeah.
Also,
it's 12:02.
Nice. Do you want to share one last thing, a proud thing or a lesson?
I'll go with a proud thing. I think I've been so proud of, like, it's like a collective, just so proud of so many of my friends. Just in their growth and their willingness to sort of like step into their truth, to ask the necessary questions, to like have the conversations. Like, I had a conversation with one of my homies about like just understanding like masculine and feminine energy. And talking about just like our relationship to like sex and just altering that and those things, and like to have that conversation with another black man, and just it's empowering, it's uplifting. It's to have a conversation with my girl Crystal about getting an LLC set up, you know, and making moves and elevating. Like to have a conversation with my guy Tim just about life and all the intricacies of it. And shout out to him too, like, white dude, like every day this summer, he had a Black Lives Matter banner in the middle of his town in Philadelphia, and he stood there all day. And white people came up to him wilding. Black people was like, yo, I respect that, you know. But it was like, it was such a amazing experience to be able to dissect that with him. And he just talked about what he learned, how quick people were to like react, you know, and that, you know. But anyway, I digress. I'm proud of all my peoples and the people that are in my circle, because some people could not have those people in their lives. Their lives could be so much different. So I would say I'm proud of my friends, my peoples, and the growth that I'm seeing. Not only on the professional level, just on a like spiritual elevation, personal level. So, you included.
Thank you.
It takes a village.
Yeah. It does. You really can't. It's funny, for one of my lessons, I literally just wrote collaboration. That's it. I wanted to share that I'm proud of my family. Feels crazy to say that sometimes, but there's so many different aspects that I'm proud of. I'm proud of, the first thing that I wrote down that sparked this thought was like, I'm proud of my father for going into counseling and like coaching and really disrupting this narrative that like you have to do it alone. And yesterday this man said something about how he didn't have the tools, and I was like, this is all I've ever wanted in my life. Not a conversation of blame, not a conversation of anger, because anger can come up, but like, I don't want it to be directed at you, like just a conversation of frankness. And like, I'm just so proud of like the way that I've been able to show up for my father. And the way he talks about me has been, I don't know, it's uncomfortable because it's so vibrantly real. Like he was like, Gary has welcomed so much truth into our family. Asking questions, being like, I don't fuck with that. And nobody was trying to say that before. And just so, it feels so validating to feel not crazy all this time. And so I'm proud of myself for always having continued this way. And like, I don't know, my true commitment is to my family. I want my bloodline to be different. I want us to be close. I don't like how things are in terms of feeling separated. And so I'm really proud of the steps that we were able to take this year to bridge things. Like Erin and I, we had a really beautiful conversation picnic where she told me all about, resentment that she was holding against me and like her journey of coming to forgive me. And like, I had that recorded, which is like beautiful. Like, yeah. I never would have imagined that for any of my family. And it's funny, like two of these people, like my dad and Erin, are both people who have these legacies of being shy people and quiet and sharing with me, who has been really scary for them in their life. For Erin, as like I was an adult figure or an older figure that was scary for her, and for my dad, a scary figure because like parenting and stuff like that. So I'm just proud of that. I'm proud of like I sent a message in my group chat saying that I was releasing a lot of things, that acknowledging like I judge myself and I hear y'all's voice. I use your voice to judge it, and I'm tired of that. I'm tired of feeling like rejected by my family. Like that's something that if y'all are rejecting me, fine. But I'm tired of feeling that way. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever you're doing, that's you. But if I want to embrace you, I want to be able to do so without all this extra stuff. And I'm proud of myself for doing that. And I'm proud of the conversations that have come from that and just letting people, what to do, Daddy-o? I was just saying I'm so proud of you for all the growth and your willingness to dig, to uproot what has always been. And like realize like, oh, just because it's always been like that doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean that it has to keep going that way. And like really shifting what is possible for us and
breaking generational curses.
I didn't want to say it, but it must be said. Breaking generational curses.
And you have to be active with that decision. Like, yo, this is going to stop here because this could continue and go on and be like, that's just the way things have been. And it's like, nah, but do we have agency and the ability to change? Can we challenge others to have that capacity to change? And it's like, if I'm consistent and you know where I'm coming from, it's like, all right, I can either we could engage or like it's going to be full on deaf ears for as long as it has. And then it's like, oh, we don't connect with that person. Mm. You know, there's just, and so that, and then it was this quote that, just in terms of not wanting to feel crazy. Mm. It was those who were dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say that one more time. Mm-hmm. Those who were dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. Zabo, my guy Zabo. But I heard that, and you think about that. Someone living in their truth, somebody asking the important questions and not wanting to be on this level of superficialness and just be real, and be joyous and be honest. And that you're out there. It's like, nah, I'm not out there. I'm right here.
You might be out there.
I'm bringing me to this context. and I hope that you do too. But thought to be insane though, to be like, oh my God, I can't believe that. When in reality, you like, I'm trying to bring us closer in a more authentic way. So,
thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. Also, I want to say, because I feel like I don't often say, I'm also proud of my mother. I'm proud of our commitment to having conversations. And I think this is where true grace is developed, because we do not have it figured out and we do not come with no perfect communication, okay? We come in wild sometimes. And I'm just really proud that despite all the things that have happened, there's still a willingness to engage in conversation. Mm-hmm. And it's challenging. And I'm proud of us both for being like, yo, this is hard, but like, fine. You know what? Mm-hmm. We're going to take some time. We're going to figure it how we're going to, not even like, oh, we're going to make it work, but we will actually identify the strategies to make this work. So I got to say I'm proud of that. And I'm proud of her, like, period. Like, that woman has raised herself. So, come on. So, thank y'all. Thank you, Tia. Thank you so much to everyone who came through. I urge you to list 25 things you've learned this year, 25 things you're proud of, because it's been a long year. And I'm just not, the reason this came up for me is, like, I'm not trying to hear people be like, 2020 throw the whole year away. Like, so what you did all year?
Bruh.
That's not Trump's fault.
And then it's that attachment to that negative though too. And again, like I said, there's been so much. And there's so much grieving. Like, however, what have we learned? That will equip us to just be able to keep lifting, keep ascending.
Yeah. See you in the new year. There's a new full moon on Tuesday. Hit that release, y'all. Let go of the last things.
When did you say that full moon was in?
I believe it's on Tuesday.
Ah, that's my birthday.
Also, get Black Boy Fly. Available on Amazon. Yes, 2020 was the year to focus on self. So if you were saying throw out the year.
Last thing to say is just
2020 vision. You're right.
As you step into this next year, just make sure you stay true to your word. Otherwise, don't say it. I wish I was best of luck, and I'm gonna see y'all next week.
Bye, y'all.